Hello guys, welcome to episode 1 officially of 2022. And yeah, Kamala Musmangelo kasibisi ngihamba no sisi u
no Spio Wagamkize.
Yes. And yes, welcome to our first episode.
You're welcome, guys. So thank you for engaging with the previous episode where we were just saying we are back and we're having these conversations. So as Usma said, and really what we want to chat about in this episode to really just put down the context of why senza lendisi inside. So why is healing important to us? Which has then given us this mandate of let's have these conversations, let's bring people along. But I think let's start off by you understanding why we do what we do. We are not professionals, as we've said at the end of the day, but we're professionals in life experience. And we believe that all our stories are important, and your story helps me, and my story helps you. So this is why we do this. But I just want to ask you then, Usma, why do you believe healing is important? Why is it important to you?
So guys, last year I did share my whole journey from childhood to SMA as an adult, you know, and just I believe last year it was just popping the pimple, if I put it that way. For years. And Lester decided, you know what, let me face this fear. At first, it felt very weird to say I need help. At first, until I had to melt down, and then I went for to go consult with a clinical psychologist who then helped me understand. Actually, my life was not moving accordingly. Maybe not accordingly, but swiftly. And these were barriers that were hindering me from being Usma that I wanted to be so bad. And it kind of opened my eyes, my heart and my mind to understand Ngutsi. As much as we want to believe these things are white related, they are white sicknesses, guys, that needs healing. You know, the previous conversation or last year, Nospiwa explained that for every part of your body, you would need to go consult with a doctor. You know, you have a toothache, you go to a dentist. You have women problems, you go to a gynecologist. You know, we have skin problems, you go to a dermatologist. But why is it that when we have mental health issues, why can't we go seek help?
Yeah.
You know, and the problem is that we think we live with these things sisodwa. So therefore, if I go out there, it's going to look weird because zobangi one unalez nkingalez. You know, my purpose of seeking help or my purpose of starting these conversations was for me to say to the next person, it is okay. You know, I've been to conversations where people would say, "Hi, uzbulaleleni, unayonke into ufunani," and it's the depth of you taking your own life that people don't understand, that needs to be brought into surface so that we can start having these conversations. Let's talk about our mental health. I have anxieties for a fact. I know for sure. I have terrible anxieties. I have terrible OCD, and I'm claustrophobic as well. All these things I didn't know about until I went to seek for help.
Yeah.
And when the lady made me aware of what's that's when I started saying, I've been in this situation before, and I thought to myself, maybe I was just overwhelmed. And then she said, no, it was not you just being overwhelmed. It was your body, it was your mind, it was your soul was saying to you, Sma, you need to slow down. Sma, you need to start healing those areas in your life that you thought you have buried. Because that's the other thing, Futi. We go through trauma as children or as teenagers or as adults, and then we decide to suppress those traumas. And we're like, no, we're not going to deal with you. Obviously, revisiting your trauma can be traumatic as well. But it's you revisiting that trauma that makes it heal as well. So this, for me, is let's start having mental conversations. You know, let's make it a lifestyle. Let's start talking about anxieties. How do you work out your anxieties, you know? And funny enough, now that I've started having these people's conversations, people come to me, ask me, Sma, how do you work with your anxieties? And for me, that's fulfilling. That is the core purpose. You know, that is the core purpose of having these conversations, is to make sure that we have these conversations openly with everyone, so that they don't feel like they are alone in this thing. And I remember Nospiu at one point said to me, "Ma, what if your purpose is not to touch people's head, you know, people's hair? What if your purpose is to heal, you know, and have these conversations with people and share your own trauma? Because my trauma probably is someone else's trauma, and they will find it very easy to work around their trauma because Sma is going through the same thing, you know." And also what I would like to say is that, God showed me the way. After losing mom, I was tired of dealing with the pain, the grief. I wanted the healing to hurry up.
Yeah.
I wanted to put a time frame on the healing. And I was like, it must hurry up.
Yeah.
And I think going through that whole year of drinking, and then one day I was like, I'm tired of crying and drinking. God, to show me the way. Where do I go? I'm tired. And I think for him, he said to me, start talking about it. And start healing the inner child of you. And start sharing your mom's journey up until her last days. And guys, gender-based violence, it's one of the biggest pandemic in South Africa. And being the child that witnessed it from an age of 7, I think, until 2020 when my mom was killed. For me, it was, not only did I lose my mom, but that inner child now came out and said, you need to heal me too.
Yeah.
So my purpose of these conversations are, healing is important. And you are not alone. You're not going through, you're not crazy. Also, black communities, we don't want to talk about mental health because we're thinking, we are hlanya. Guys, our hlanya. At some point in time, I thought I was crazy because I'm like, everything is just too overwhelming. You know, I can't balance things. And also when I broke it down to my family, with guys, I have anxieties and so I'm gonna be put on antidepressants. The first thing they said to me was, "Sma, usebenza kakhulu, you need to slow down. Kodwa, does it mean ukuthi uyahlanya?" And I'm like, you know, we need to go back to the community and start unlearning. Unlearning what this thing, it's not a white sickness, or it's not a female thing, because that's the other thing. Our brothers are not included in these conversations. So my purpose is just to bring everyone around. Let's start talking about these things. You know, as much as we would believe they are not for us, but trust me, it's a passed on generational trauma, and it needs to stop with us. So that's my purpose of these conversations and the importance of healing as well.
Thanks for that, Sma. That was beautiful, actually. And I think the one thing, Oishilo, which for me, when we talk about why is healing important to me, and also the purpose of actually doing this, you mentioned this aspect of giving language to what's going on within you, because I know currently the biggest trend is we all say we all depressed, or I've all got anxiety, but we actually don't even understand CT and when I actually say I'm depressed, or when I say I've got anxieties, or sometimes you're just overwhelmed in the day. So I think for me, that's one of the biggest reasons of actually doing this, is being able to create a space for information. Information where, as Usma said, we all go through some form of trauma in our lives. Some bigger than others, but at the end of the day, it's trauma. And it affects us at some point in time. And by the time you get to an adult, I also believe we're all children functioning in grown-up bodies, because we are all just trying to figure out this life thing. So for me, the purpose of healing, why I find it so important for me, is that at some point along the way, salimala in some shape or form, whether it was through our close family context, whether it was abantu emnyango ngaphandle, at some point something would have happened to us, which then affected who we believe we are. So for me, the purpose of healing is just to make sure that you are functioning in your right identity. not in the identity that was given to you by your family and the drama of your family, not the identity that was given to you by the world outside. You know, when I was growing up, my identity was the fat child. So to a point where I remember I got to grade 8, grade 9. So once I hit teenager, and all the baby fat fell away. But how? So my identity, or how they recognized me or didn't recognize me, was based in how I looked physically. So which means at some point in my life I had an eating disorder, because all of a sudden it was a case of people were accepting me and loving me beforehand. So all of a sudden I developed this eating disorder because my level of acceptance and understanding of what's bang tanda was because slend. So that's a trauma that happened. And it's a simple thing. When you go home during the holidays, and those are things which we think are just ideas that we just say, but we don't realize how they affect us. And so all of a sudden, my identity was hooked in, I am worth something, slander. So for me, the purpose of healing is just for us to function in our correct identities. And you mentioned how not last year, 2020, where you were going through that year and you had that crossroad conversation with God, and you were just like, Lord, what is going on? And for me, the whole healing aspect and the identity thing was what God was saying to me also, is that when He created me, there was a certain identity He gave me. And I'm loved, I'm accepted, but then I grow up in life and all of a sudden people are throwing different labels at me. I go through certain traumas in life, and all of a sudden I'm functioning in an identity which is not mine.
Which is based on people.
Which is based on people and the traumas. You also mentioned you're not functioning as the smart that you know that you should have been. And so that for me is the biggest reason why I believe we should heal, is that we were created to be such beautiful things, and life happens, and life is always going to happen. This is the thing.
Always.
We won't get away from life, but like that saying says, you are not responsible for what happens to you, but you're responsible for how then you move from there, how you respond from it. And that's why I believe healing is so important. It's so important that you can see, this is not who I am.
Yeah.
You can see that anxiety lendo anymore. You can see that this is who I want to be. And so then the purpose of healing is going back into those traumas, like you said. Let's not even joke about that.
Guys.
Because you are revisiting into yaglimaza. But in order for you to heal it, you need to see it for what it is, and then decide for yourself. Yes, Uma may have put me in a GBV environment, but that is not who I choose to be at the end of the day. You spoke about popping the pimple. Healing really is about identifying isilonda sakho. Usibone ngempela ukuthi actually sisilonda sinje, because what we do is that we put a plaster, like you say, we suppress. So you just put a plaster, meantime lesi silonda sidinga operating room. And what happens uma isilonda singa isn't taken care of properly, it really gets messy, and all of a sudden now you feel like uyasangana, because there's a mess and a storm happening inside of you. And really healing is about identifying that storm, identifying the slonda. So for me, healing, I love the topic of healing. I love it because on the other side of it is who you know you're meant to be. It's messy, it's painful, it's sore, but so is life. And I also feel that, once you step into that healing space, you just realize how brave you are.
Ooh, guys, let me tell you,
the courage that you have, how brave you are. Yes. Because all of a sudden you start realizing, Nami, I'm important, and I'm going to take this seriously. So I love that, because we become stronger on the other side. Not to say those things now disappear. No, they don't disappear. But you just now move differently in life. And the purpose of and that's the purpose really, because yes. I desire us to live full, happy, joyful lives. And by what I mean by happy and joyful, I don't mean that it won't happen to you, but I mean that you're just able to react differently.
Yes.
You're able to react in a wiser way, in a thoughtful way, not in a totally emotional way. We are emotional beings, we are created with emotions, but it's understanding those emotions.
Yes.
So for me, the purpose of us having these conversations, like you said, it's for others to know that you're not alone, number one. Number two is to give language to what's going on within you, because the language sometimes us now kufana with our emotions. So because we don't have the language for our emotions, we sometimes just think I'm happy and sad. Meantime, there's so much that happens in between. And the moment you have the right language for what's going on, then you know what to do with it. And also you were talking about how our black community has this thing of Wutana, no, we don't. I see khulum lezi zinto.
I like you can't
Usuyahlanya yini? Iyeke lento. Yazi nathi
yonke into ufuna enye.
What's wrong with you? Noma but into yala ekhaya nje sayazi nje lonto uyasibona ukuthi si right.
Like igcine, you know, it's okay. Keep it quiet and don't share it.
Don't share it.
You're a strong child and you managed all these years to put this aside.
I mean, I said the rights being a strong black woman. I don't know about you, but the rights of being a strong black woman, I know that I have a strong ability to persevere, to push.
Yes.
Strike a rock, strike. No, guys.
I remember one thing happened to me. It is during Mom's funeral preparations, and I was so heartbroken when it came from one person in the family. So obviously, man, you know, I'm not timetable. And we were just sitting there and it just came down. I remember this person saying to me, no man, you are strong, you know, and I'm like thinking to myself, keep my emotions and I'm supposed to suppress them. What's going to happen to those emotions?
Yeah.
And I went outside and I cried, you know, and I'm like, I'm not going to listen to these people. Because that's the other thing in our families or in our communities, that you need to deal with something as it happens, like immediately. You know, and I mean, who subjects to when you know, and it's those traumas as well that after years ungakhalanga leso sikhathi ungadilanga ama-emotions leso sikhathi azokushaya one day.
Yeah. So I think that's the biggest conversation, is that within our communities, as black people, it's trauma. As black people, just being born black, we're trauma. Full stop. And so vele are just those things that come with just being black, and then being a woman in South Africa.
It's worse.
Trauma. So to not be in a space where we are able to say, and actually I'm not feeling okay today, that is hard. So the purpose of these conversations is for us to make it normal. Just like Jobusma was saying, we are dentist. I should be able to say, can we have a coffee and chat? I don't know what's going on, I just need to speak. And we need to be able to be safe spaces for each other. And I think that's so important, is that healing also happens in safe spaces. So we need to be safe spaces for each other, but we need to learn how to be safe spaces and go back as squads because of how we've been brought up and the community we've been brought up in. So to be safe spaces, to allow each other to talk, to not feel that we always have to have an answer to what's going on. Maybe the answer, and to be okay with the answer being a hug.
Yes.
To be okay with the answer being silence. To be okay with the answer being, do you want me to find a psychologist for you? And for us to make this okay. And I think that would be a big thing. And we always say, like you also mentioned, let it stop and start with us. Let how we've always handled mental health stop with us, and let the new wave of how we deal with it start with us. So this is the purpose of these conversations, to stop the old, start the new.
The new and fresh. So that was the whole purpose of this video, is to understand our purpose of why we start these conversations, and then just understanding me as Usmangelo, why did I start this initiative? Let's start talking about mental health. Let's start sharing trauma. Let's start talking about gender-based violence, because Akusiyimi ngedwa I experience her mom's gender-based violence growing up. Ngisho bakhona one of the messages that I received that really broke my heart was this lady who said, "Sma, I can see my mom in me through my kids." And obviously there was that traumatic experience that she went through as a child between her and her mom, and it's something that she didn't deal with, and now she can see what it's unfolding in her through her kids.
Yeah.
She sees that we're going to have the same cycle with the kids,
Yeah.
and she says, "Ma, I don't want to be that person." So these are one of the sole purposes of having these conversations, to make people aware of it's okay to deal with that trauma.
Yeah.
You know, before it moves on to the next generation, it's okay for you to break that cycle, you know, and it's okay for you to heal. And I think one of the things that we sometimes fearful of is to face the trauma.
Yeah.
So in this way is you facing that person,
Yeah.
you know, and asking them questions. Would see, why did you treat me this way? Or why did I have to go through this as a child?
Yeah.
You know, I think one of the things that I did, or one of the things that I was advised to do, was to go back to your mom and ask her, why was she in those abusive relationships? And why couldn't she protect you against those experiences that you went through? So,
But what I do want to say though with that is, it's always, I find it's a privilege that you can go back uyobabuza ukuthi what was going on in order to help you get the answers that you need to get. But sometimes we don't have that privilege of being able to go back, because sometimes abaseko, those people that who actually caused the traumas in our lives, and sometimes if it's our parents, they are not ready to deal with those things.
Always run away from telling you.
Yes, and what I've learned is that it's okay, because our healing journeys are our healing journeys. We need to be aware that in order for me to heal, it doesn't always mean I need the other person to add to it.
Yes.
My healing journey is my healing journey. And sometimes we do need to realize that I'm not going to get the answers I need to get from what happened there, because they are not ready.
Yes.
And this is what I've also realized, that we may be the generation to stop it, but our parents' generations, they still don't have the tools. They still don't have the language. And we need to be gentle with them, especially when they are the ones that we need the answers from. And I think part of the healing journey sometimes is that when I heal, they see that I'm healing, and it gives them the courage to heal also. Then we can have those conversations. So I think that's the biggest thing, is that the journey is yours, and take it, own it, love it, embrace it. It's going to be messy. It's okay. It's not going to happen in 6 months, because it took your whole life to make you the person that you are right now. So it's not going to happen overnight. And that's okay. I think we need to make that very clear, is that sometimes we think that healing is going to happen overnight, and it doesn't. And sometimes when you think you've healed one area, you think it's like something else.
Area of your life that you need to work on.
Something else that you need to work on. So be okay with that. Be okay that it isn't going to be overnight. It isn't going to be a straight line. And the moment you're okay with it, you're okay. You don't stress too much about it. You embrace it when it comes. Yeah.
So yeah, guys, that's it for today, and I hope you take away at home understanding your purpose individually of why you think you need healing, or why you think you need someone to talk to, and understand that you're just not crazy. You know, it's you understanding that I am not okay, and I don't feel okay, and I really need to work on it. You know, and understand, why am I going through all these emotions that I'm going through. And you're not alone. You are loved. You need to understand that you are loved. You are beautiful. You are handsome. You are perfect as you are. And you are okay for not being okay. So see you guys on the next video. Bye.